Quit making excuses of why you're not where you want to be and how it's everybody else's fault. And that's the great thing about becoming an entrepreneur. There's no limit to how much return you can get back on your investment. 99% of people out there, they're just not cut out to be entrepreneurs. They bitch and moan about working 40-hour work weeks or having to work on the weekend or having to work overtime. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you're going to work a ton of hours and you're going to do it basically for free. But you understand that all of this time and all of this work is going to pay off in the long run. So I was having a conversation with a guy the other day, and he kept asking me, how are you finding all these deals? How are you closing all these deals? And, it got me thinking, it's almost like he was asking, what is the secret to your success? What's the easy path, the cheat code? And that's just not reality. There's no cheat code, no easy button for anything that you want to do and be highly successful at. It all comes down to a few things. You have to be willing to put in the work. Day in and day out, you have to be willing to put in the work. And most people bitch and moan about having to work on the weekends or getting called in to stay and work some overtime. And all the successful people that you admire, no matter what genre or career field that it's in, they've put in the work. They put in the hours. Now, sure, some of them may have came from better financial circumstances and maybe had more opportunities. But at the end of the day, even if you give somebody a successful business, if they're not putting in the work, it's going to go to shit. So you have to be willing to put in the work. You can't be making excuses of, this is why this person is doing good because they came from this or they came from that. At the end of the day, that's just the weak part of our mind that is making excuses for why we aren't where we should be or why somebody else is doing better than we are doing. It's just an excuse. And the other thing you got to have is discipline. You got to be willing to put in the work day in and day out, even when you fail. And let me tell you, successful people fail way more than your average person does. And the reason is because they're willing to step into the unknown and do things that they've never done before because they understand that failing is a part of the process. As human beings, when we fail is when we learn our best. It's almost like your mom used to tell you, don't touch that stove because it's hot. And sure enough, you touched the stove. But after you got burnt, you learned that I'm not going to touch that stove anymore because I don't want to get fucking burnt. So we learn best by going through failure. And that's something that they don't teach you in school. They give this negative outlook on failure. And that's just not how we learn as human beings. Not how we learn best, at least. Another big thing that you have to accept is it's going to take time. Nothing worth having comes overnight. And if it does, then it's probably going to go just as fast as it came. So you have to accept that you're in it for the long haul. One of my favorite quotes from a mentor of mine is, you're thinking in days and I'm thinking in decades. And that's the mentality you have to have in order to create a successful business. And I know we see a lot of these people on, internet, YouTube, whatever, who seems like it just happened overnight, but I can guarantee you that these people have put in the hours and put in the time and work in order to get to where they are. It just seems like they got there really fast because maybe they just hopped in on your radar. But the reality is they've put in tons of work and hours to get to where they're at. And then one day they had something that just took off or something that just clicked and took them to the next level. Now, even if you're doing all of those things correctly, but you're in the wrong vehicle, you're not going to reach your goals. And this is something that took me a while to figure out, but time is our biggest asset. And it doesn't matter how rich you are or how poor you are. We're all given the same 24 hours in a day, 365 days in a year. So it's how you use that time. Now, if you're trading your time for dollars, then you have a cap on how much you can make. Now, sure, that cap is going to vary depending on what genre or field you're in, but there is a cap because you only have one timeline to trade. So you want to get into a field to where you're getting paid on sales, commission, the product, but that you're not trading your time for money. Now, there's really two big ways, actually three big ways that we can leverage our time for money. Number one is going to be investing in something that's going to bring you residual passive income. So that could be real estate, it could be stocks, whatever it may be. It's something to where you put in money and it compounds over time and brings you back a return. And then number two is going to be other people. You can leverage other people's time by paying them a wage in order to steal their time to do the things that you need to get done. And then number three is going to be content. See, I can produce a video or I can produce a website or whatever that is basically a funnel to bring people in to my world to spend money. And I only have to do that one time. And that video, sure, I'll do a lot more in order to get my brand recognized, but that one video or maybe that one sales funnel will channel people into the funnel who ultimately turn into a deal. It'll take these leads, turn them into a deal, and in return, generate money for you. Another example would be writing a book. I write a book one time, or maybe you make a movie or you make a song, whatever it may be. It's something that you've done once. You put in a lot of time up front on the front end, but it pays you for years to come on the back end. And that's the great thing about becoming an entrepreneur, that there's no limit to how much return you can get back on your investment. But the reality is that 99% of people out there, they're just not fucking cut out to be entrepreneurs. They bitch and moan about working 40-hour work weeks or having to work on the weekend or having to work overtime. And if you want to be an entrepreneur, especially in the beginning, you're going to work a ton of fucking hours. And you're going to do it basically for free with no return. But you understand and you have a belief in yourself that all of this time and all of this work is going to pay off in the long run. And the people who stick with it and they have the discipline, those are the people who become ultra successful. And the people that you look at and you're like, oh man, look, he did this overnight. But what you don't see is all the work that he put in or she put in behind closed doors. So I want to leave you with this. Stop thinking in days and start thinking in decades. Work 60-hour work weeks until it becomes the new norm. And as soon as your business starts seeing success and money coming in, start investing in passive income and or leveraging other people's time. If you do these, I guarantee you, over time, you will see success. And most of all, quit making excuses of why you're not where you want to be and how it's everybody else's fault.